Shedeur Sanders is making waves in Cleveland after getting meaningful solo reps with Browns wide receivers. The young QB's surprise drills caught attention across the league, sparking both excitement and speculation about his future. Could this be a preview of what's coming next in the NFL spotlight? Stick around for all the details and subscribe for daily sports and celebrity drama. Everyone laughed when Shedeur Sanders went undrafted. They said he was overhyped, that he only got attention because of his dad, that his stats didn't mean much outside of college football. But now, he's quietly forcing his way into one of the most dysfunctional quarterback rooms in the NFL, and no one's ready for what's coming next. Because the Cleveland Browns might have just stumbled onto a quarterback who wasn't supposed to be part of the plan at all. And if things break the way they look like they might, Shaduer could end up doing something no one thought he would this soon, running an NFL offense. Let's get something straight. Shaduer didn't come to the league via red carpet. There was no first-round hype, no $20 million guaranteed deal, no viral draft moment. Just a harsh silence from every team that passed on him. But here's what makes this story different. He didn't fold. He didn't whine. He didn't disappear into irrelevance. Instead, he kept showing up, laser-focused, polished mechanics, NFL-ready footwork. He stayed ready, and now he's putting real pressure on the Cleveland Browns QB depth chart. And get this, he's not even on the official rotation yet. Joe Flacco is the starter. Dylan Gabriel is the backup. Shaduer, he's the emergency quarterback, the afterthought. But don't let that label fool you, because every throw he's making in practice, every read he's hitting, every glimpse of leadership he's showing to teammates and coaches, it's all becoming harder to ignore. And with the Browns' rocky quarterback history hanging over everything like a curse, fans are starting to wonder, did Cleveland somehow land the answer they've been chasing for decades by accident? Let's break down how Shaduer got here, what he's doing behind the scenes, and why his story might just be the most unexpected QB rise we've seen in years. It's easy to forget that just a year ago, Shedeur Sanders had the college football world watching his every move. He was putting up numbers, running a high-powered offense, and showing a level of calm in the pocket that most NFL prospects spend years trying to develop. But somehow, when draft day came around, nothing happened. No phone call, no franchise handshake, no hat on the podium. And suddenly, one of the most talked about quarterbacks in the country was labeled just another undrafted player. It didn't matter how many touchdowns he threw. It didn't matter who his father was. NFL decision makers didn't think he was ready, or worse, they didn't think he fit. Some said he was too raw. Others claimed he wouldn't survive behind a real NFL offensive line. Critics even questioned whether he could lead a locker room without Deion Sanders by his side. The narrative? He might have been good in college, but he wasn't NFL good. But here's what people forget. Shaduer's entire career has been built on being overlooked. He wasn't handed anything. Not at Jackson State, not at Colorado, and definitely not in the pros. What he did have was work ethic, accuracy, and an elite understanding of the game. The kind that doesn't show up in pre-draft talking points. Now Shaduer finds himself in an unusual position, on a team that's desperate for answers, with eyes slowly turning toward him. He might not have the title or the payday yet, but inside that Browns facility, there's growing buzz. Coaches are watching, teammates are talking, and in a quarterback room that's one shaky performance away from disaster, Shaduer is suddenly more than just the rookie. He's the unexpected wild card, the one nobody drafted, nobody hyped, and maybe, just maybe, the one who ends up winning it all. When Shedeur Sanders landed in Cleveland, barely anyone noticed. There were no headlines, no major tweets, no hype reel clips getting blasted across ESPN. It wasn't even clear at first if he'd stay past training camp. To the outside world, he was just another undrafted guy brought in to help with practice reps. Nothing more, nothing less. But that's where the story starts to shift, because quietly, Through closed media practices and scattered training camp reports, something strange began to happen. People inside the Browns facility started paying attention. The throws were sharp, the reads were clean, the timing better than expected, especially for someone who was supposed to be miles behind NFL speed. At first, it was just a few whispers. Reporters noting that Shaduer looked comfortable or made a solid throw in drills. Then it became more than that. Media insiders like Ashley Bastock started sharing updates. Local sports radio began tossing his name around. Coaches weren't saying much publicly, but behind the scenes, the vibe was changing. And it wasn't just about talent. It was the body language, the confidence, the way Shaduer operated like he belonged. While other camp QBs sometimes panic or hesitate, Shaduer carried himself like a guy who'd been waiting for this shot his whole life. The Browns already had veterans like Joe Flacco and young arms like Dillon Gabriel in the quarterback room. Shaduer was supposed to be buried behind them. No real threat, no playing time projection. He was there to be invisible. But instead of fading into the background, he started standing out. And the more days go by, the harder it's becoming to keep him off the radar. He might not have forced his way into the depth chart yet, but it's becoming clear. Shedeur Sanders isn't just filling space in Cleveland. He came to compete, and the clock is already ticking on someone ahead of him. By now, most rookie quarterbacks would be buried in the playbook, quietly blending into second-string recs while the veterans lead practice. But Shedeur Sanders, he's doing things a little differently. During a recent Browns training session, one that was mostly closed off to media, bits of footage and inside reports started to leak out. And what they showed sent a ripple through the Cleveland fan base. Shaduer wasn't just there. He was executing. According to local coverage from 92.3 The Fan and updates from Browns insider Ashley Bastock, Shaduer made crisp throws, showed pocket composure, and even connected on a well-timed strike to a tight end during drills. These aren't just warm-up tosses. These are real-time reads under pressure against an NFL-level defense. One throw in particular caught people's attention. With media only permitted to watch individual periods, observers still noted Shaduer's calm mechanics and perfect placement. Threads the needle over a linebacker, drops it right into the hands of his receiver. A throw that looked seasoned. And then back-to-back reps, precision, speed, confidence. No panic in his footwork, no delay in his decision-making. Just clean, professional execution. Coaches didn't say much in front of the cameras, but you don't need a press release to read the room. On the sidelines, you could see it. The quiet nods, the exchanged glances. Those are the moments when you realize someone might be outperforming his label. Even fans who caught glimpses started buzzing online. Comments rolled in. This kid doesn't look like a third stringer. Why does he throw better than our actual backup? And suddenly, what was supposed to be a quiet development year turned into a real conversation. Did the Browns accidentally find a QB with starter-level potential, just hiding behind the practice squad hoodie? The Cleveland Browns quarterback room might look solid on paper, but paper doesn't win games, and Browns fans know that better than anyone. Right now, Joe Flacco is penciled in as the starter. A former Super Bowl MVP, sure, but let's be real. Flacco is deep into the twilight of his career. At 40 years old, he's a temporary solution in a system that desperately needs stability. He can still sling it when protected, but his mobility is gone. His durability is a concern, and the clock is ticking every time he drops back. Behind him, Dillon Gabriel, a promising rookie, yes, but inconsistent. He's newer to the system, still adjusting to the NFL speed, and hasn't exactly shown command of the offense during camp. Some insiders even say he's struggled with pre-snap reads and decision-making under pressure. That opens the door, not just slightly, but wide open. And sitting right there, in the emergency QB slot, is Shedeur Sanders. Technically third string, but only by title. Because what happens if Flacco gets banged up? What if Gabriel isn't ready under the lights? That emergency QB label turns into something else entirely: opportunity. The Browns have been here before. They've cycled through more quarterbacks than any other team in the league over the past 2 decades. Some drafted, some hyped, others overpaid. And time after time, it's ended the same way. Another offseason searching for answers. So when you have a young QB quietly showing command, composure, and raw talent in practice, how long do you keep pretending he's not part of the conversation? It's a fragile room, and one injury, one bad half, one ugly loss could flip the entire depth chart. And when it does, Shedeur might not just be next up, he might be ready to take over. If there's one NFL team haunted by its own past, it's the Cleveland Browns. You don't have to dig deep to find the list. Over 30 different starting quarterbacks since 1999. It's almost become a joke. A revolving door of broken experiments, overhyped draft picks, and expensive veterans who showed up, burned out, and moved on. Remember Johnny Manziel? Baker Mayfield? Deshaun Watson came with enormous expectations and controversy. Even veterans like Tyrod Taylor and RG3 were supposed to bring stability, but none of them stuck. No matter how promising the name, nothing ever clicks for long in Cleveland. Injuries, bad coaching, poor fits. It's like there's something bigger at play, some unshakable force keeping them from finding the one. And because of that, anytime a fresh quarterback walks in the building, he's not just battling defenders, he's fighting history. But here's where it gets interesting. The Browns finally stopped looking for a QB this offseason. Joe Flacco gave them enough last year to bring him back. Dillon Gabriel was brought in as the developmental arm. No rush, no pressure. Just keep the ball moving. That's why Shedeur Sanders wasn't really part of the plan. He wasn't expected to compete, let alone stir things up. The irony? That might be exactly why he could break the curse. Because if there's one thing the Browns haven't tried, it's letting a quarterback quietly develop without a media circus built around him. Could it be that the QB nobody drafted, the one teams overlooked, the one brought in for emergency reps, ends up being the one who finally breaks the streak? It sounds like a movie script. But in Cleveland, weird things happen. And if history tells us anything, the Browns can't buy quarterback success. But this time, they might have stumbled onto it for free. On paper, Shedeur Sanders looks like a long shot. He's undrafted, technically third string, no real NFL reps. Yet, when you look beyond the depth chart and into the small details, the things most people ignore, it starts to paint a different picture. Shedeur isn't just talented. He's ridiculously polished for someone his age. His mechanics in the pocket, the way he scans the field, his accuracy on quick reads, these are traits most rookies don't figure out for years. And he's doing it now, in a pro-level environment, going up against one of the top defenses in the entire NFL during practice. Let's not forget who he's facing every day. The Browns' defense includes monsters like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Every rep Shedeur takes behind center forces him to adjust, read, and react against elite talent. That trial by fire sharpens you fast, and from what insiders are seeing, he's not just surviving, he's evolving. And here's something fans are starting to understand. Shedeur's advantage isn't just physical, it's mental. He's grown up around greatness. When your father is Deion Sanders, you don't just hear locker room lingo, you live it. Shedeur knows the media game, understands pressure, and doesn't flinch under the microscope. That matters in the NFL. What makes him dangerous is that he thinks like a veteran, even if he hasn't played like one publicly yet. And in a league full of guys who crumble once they're thrown into the fire, having that calm, that IQ can be the difference between a one-and-done backup and a long-term starter. So while media outlets keep chasing headlines about Flacco dusting off one more season, or Gabriel's slow progress, there's a QB in the shadows getting sharper every day. And if the Browns take the risk, history shows those late bloomers are often the ones who change everything. NFL seasons have a funny way of fast-forwarding decisions. Plans that look steady in September can collapse by October. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, with a roster that always feels one slip away from chaos, the question isn't if something shifts in the quarterback room, it's when. Joe Flacco, as steady as he's been throughout his career, is still 40 years old. Father Time doesn't lose, and one awkward hit could sideline him for weeks. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, the rookie with promise, but also the kind of rookie hesitation that can derail an NFL offense in a single game. Neither player screams long-term security, which leaves only one other option, Shedeur Sanders. For now, the Browns can hide him on the depth chart, let him develop in the background, and hope nothing goes wrong up top. But the NFL rarely allows backup plans to stay hidden. The moment Flacco tweaks a hamstring or Gabriel throws back-to-back interceptions in a crucial spot, all that developmental patience disappears. The conversation changes overnight from "he's not ready" to "why not give him a shot?" And here's the thing about football. Opportunity usually arrives through someone else's misfortune. Tom Brady only touched the field because Drew Bledsoe got injured. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries before a chance transformed his life. The league is full of players who were never supposed to start, but once the door cracked open, they sprinted right through. Shedeur Sanders has that same type of setup, a fragile QB situation ahead of him, a history of Cleveland instability, and a skill set improving week by week. If the Browns' luck runs the way it usually does, Shaduer doesn't need years. He just needs one moment. And the second that moment comes, Cleveland may never look back. When you step back and look at the Cleveland Browns quarterback story, it reads like a never-ending tragedy. Big names come in, bold headlines are printed, fans buy the jerseys. And then, like clockwork, the same ending plays out. Disappointment, frustration, and more searching. It's a cycle the city knows all too well. But here's where things feel different. In Shedeur Sanders, the Browns don't have a splashy pickup or an overpriced veteran. They have something much rarer. They have a young quarterback who was overlooked, discarded by every franchise in the draft, and brought in without any spotlight. No expectations, no media circus, no pressure to be the savior. That's exactly why this could be dangerous. Because while everyone's eyes are glued to Flacco's veteran presence or debating Gabriel's upside, Shaduer is quietly sharpening his game. He's improving against one of the league's fiercest defenses. He's gaining trust in the locker room. He's absorbing the playbook with the calm of someone who doesn't flinch under pressure. And the longer he stays below the radar, the more explosive it's going to be when his chance finally comes. NFL history is built on stories like this, the underdog who no one took seriously until suddenly they couldn't deny him anymore. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it rewrites legacies. And if you know anything about the Sanders family, you know rewriting legacies is basically in their DNA. So the NFL might not see it yet. Most analysts are still dismissing Shaduer as not ready, or worse, not NFL material. But the whispers in camp, the buzz among Browns fans, the stolen clips of practice, they tell a different story. The Browns have been searching for decades. Ironically, they might have found their answer in the one player nobody wanted. And when Shedeur Sanders finally gets his moment, don't be surprised if the entire league regrets ignoring him.